Have you ever thought about how some stories, they're not just stories, they're like warnings that just stick around?
Yeah, or how ideas from fiction kind of seep into how we actually talk about things.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today. A real deep dive into one of the big ones, George Orwell's 1984.
A truly chilling classic.
Right. So our mission here is to take all these sources you shared, the summaries, the analyses, all the discussion around 1984, and really pull out the key stuff for you.
Mm-hmm. The core ideas.
Yeah, give you a solid understanding of why this book is so powerful, but, keep it concise. We don't want you feeling overwhelmed.
And we've looked at some great analyses like that dystopian masterpiece explored piece you mentioned. Really gets into the why.
It does. Why the psychology hits so hard, why Winston's journey is so resonant. So, yeah, settle in. We're aiming for a fascinating chat, getting the best insights straight to you.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this world Orwell built. Where exactly are we in 1984?
Well, the main setting is Airstrip 1, which, sounds clinical, sterile almost.
And that used to be Britain, right?
Exactly. Now it's just a province in this huge superstate called Oceania.
And Oceania isn't alone.
No, that's key. The world's split into three of these massive totalitarian states, Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia. And they're always at war.
Always. But the enemy changes.
Constantly. Alliances shift, history gets rewritten to match, truth is completely fluid, controlled by the party.
The party. Headed by Big Brother, this sort of mythical figure.
Omnipresent, always watching, but maybe not even real. He's the symbol. But the control is real. Pervasive surveillance through telescreens.
Can't escape them.
Nope. Brutal enforcement if you step out of line. And, crucially, this systematic twisting of truth. Newspeak, propaganda. It's total.
It sounds utterly suffocating. So who are the people caught in this? Let's start with the main guy, Winston Smith.
Right, Winston. He's our protagonist. Not a hero in the traditional sense, really. He's a low-ranking party member.
Working at the Ministry of Truth, which is just, the irony is thick there.
Oh, absolutely. His job is literally rewriting history, changing records to fit the party's latest version of reality.
Imagine the mental gymnastics for that.
Exactly. And then there's Julia.
Winston's lover? How's she described?
She's rebellious too, but in a more physical, immediate way. Passionate, maybe less intellectual about her rebellion than Winston, initially at least.
Interesting contrast. And O'Brien. He seems important.
Hugely important. He's inter-party, high-ranking, and the really insidious thing is Winston first sees him as a potential ally.
Like, finally, someone else gets it.
Yes, that flicker of hope.
Yeah.
But, spoiler alert, O'Brien is deeply, chillingly loyal to the party. He embodies its cruelty.
Wow. And then looming over everyone, Big Brother.
The face on the posters, the name you hear constantly, less a character, more the symbol of absolute control.
It really makes you ask, how does anyone even survive that, let alone resist?
Or maybe you don't survive intact. That's the terrifying question the book explores.
Okay, let's walk through the plot then. This unfolding nightmare. Part 1 kicks off with Winston's pretty grim daily life.
Yeah, cramped flat, telescreen blaring, that slogan everywhere. Big Brother is watching you.
Gives me chills just saying it. But he starts a secret rebellion, doesn't he? Something small but huge.
He does. He buys an old diary, illegally, and starts writing his thoughts down.
Which is basically thought crime.
Exactly. The sources really stress this. Just having a private thought, trying to record your own reality, is the ultimate act of defiance in that world.
It's about claiming that inner space.
Precisely. That the party wants to annihilate.
So even before Julia, he's already crossing a line. How does she come into it? Initially, he's suspicious of her, right?
Yeah, he sees her at work, feels desire, but also thinks she might be, an informant. Part of the thought police, maybe.
But
Then she falls in front of him, slips him a tiny folded note.
the I love you note, that must have just turned his world upside down.
Completely. It catapults them into part 2.
Right, the secret affair.
Yeah.
They find this little bit of freedom, where is it? Above the antique shop?
Yeah, Mr. Charrington's shop. They rent the room upstairs. It's their sanctuary, away from the telescreens.
A place where they can be human, basically. Explore their connection, talk about rebellion.
It's a bubble of seeming freedom. But then, O'Brien enters the picture more directly.
Ah, yes, O'Brien. This is where it gets really interesting and dangerous. He seems to confirm Winston's hopes.
He approaches Winston, hints at sharing his anti-party views, gives him the book.
The theory and practice of oligarchical collectivism sounds heavy.
It is. And for Winston, it's like finding the key. The book supposedly explains how the party works, why it does what it does. It seems to validate everything he suspected.
A moment of absolute clarity, he must think.
Or so it seems. Because what's fascinating, or rather horrifying, is what comes next. Just as they're reading the book, feeling like they understand.
They get caught.
Brutally. The thought police burst in. The telescreen, hidden behind a picture in their safe room, was watching all along.
No. And the shop owner.
Mr. Charrington. Turns out he wasn't some harmless old man. He was thought police. The betrayal is total.
Ugh, devastating. Which brings us to the infamous part 3, the Ministry of Love.
Yeah, which is, of course, the Ministry of Pain and Torture. Winston is subjected to, well, systematic breakdown.
And O'Brien is the one orchestrating it.
Yes. The supposed ally becomes the chief tormentor. And this is where O'Brien reveals the party's true aim.
Which isn't about some ideology or the greater good.
Not at all. O'Brien spills it out chillingly. The party seeks power purely for its own sake. Absolute unending power over human beings.
Power itself. No other justification needed.
None. As the analyses point out, this is maybe Orwell's most terrifying insight. It's not tyranny for something. The tyranny is the point. There's nothing to appeal to.
That makes the cruelty seem even more absolute, and it culminates in Room 101.
Room 101, where you confront the worst thing in the world, whatever your worst thing is.
And for Winston, it's rats.
Yes. Unbearable fear. And under that pressure, he breaks completely.
He betrays Julia, begs them to torture her instead of him.
He screams it.
Yeah.
It's the final destruction of his inner self, his loyalty, his love, everything the party couldn't initially touch.
It's just awful to read. So what does this all mean in the end? The final scene, Winston back in that cafe.
The Chestnut Tree Cafe.
Yeah.
He's broken, hollowed out. His mind has been reshaped.
The rebellion is gone.
Completely purged. He traces 2 + 2 = 5 in the dust. He sees a poster of Big Brother.
And he loves him.
He loves Big Brother. The party has won. Utterly.
Wow. Okay, so from that harrowing story, let's pull back and look at the big themes. Obviously, totalitarianism and surveillance are front and center.
Absolutely. The constant watching, the control over every aspect of life, even thought, it's the defining feature.
And tied into that is this whole idea of reality versus truth.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the party's power comes from controlling reality itself, rewriting history, manipulating facts through things like doublethink.
Where you hold two contradictory ideas at once and believe both.
Exactly, until people can't trust their own memory or perception. What's real is whatever the party says is real right now.
Which leads right into the theme of the individual versus the state. Winston's struggle shows how incredibly fragile individuality is against that kind of power.
His entire inner life becomes a battleground, and ultimately, the state grinds it down.
And the methods they use, it really highlights the psychology of oppression.
Oh, definitely. Orwell gives us a masterclass in how fear, pain, isolation, and propaganda can just systematically break a person's spirit. It's not just physical control, it's mental enslavement.
So given all that grimness, why does this book still hit so hard today? Why is it so influential?
Well, fundamentally, it's just a timeless, powerful warning, isn't it? About where things could go if power becomes too concentrated, too unchecked.
And the language itself.
That's what's fascinating here. Terms Orwell invented for the book Big Brother, doublethink, thought crime, newspeak, they're part of our actual vocabulary now.
We use them all the time to describe real-world things. Surveillance, manipulation.
Exactly. That alone shows its incredible impact. It gave us the words to talk about certain kinds of oppression.
And you see why it's constantly searched, discussed. It just resonates with ongoing concerns about government overreach, privacy, how information is controlled.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's examination of authoritarianism, resistance, propaganda. It feels relevant whenever those issues flare up in the real world.
Which makes it more than just a story.
It's one of the absolute pillars of dystopian fiction. And it serves as this vital lens for analyzing our own times, looking critically at power, control, and the manipulation of truth.
We've certainly gone deep into 1984 today, haven't we? Pulled apart the world, the characters, that brutal plot, the themes, all based on the sources you shared. It really underscores the need for vigilance for critical thinking.
Yeah, and maybe that's the final thought. Understanding 1984 is one thing, but applying that awareness, that's crucial.
Awesome.
Well, in a world saturated with information, and let's face it, misinformation, the ability... Orwell highlights the need to question, to think critically, to hold on to objective reality. It's more important than ever. Knowledge needs to be applied.
That's a powerful point. So maybe we leave you, the listener, with this. Think about those concepts: truth, freedom, the power stories have to shape our reality. How do the echoes of 1984 play out in the world you see? And what does that mean for holding on to your own independent thought?